Welcome to the Fantasy Clinic, everybody. I'm the Fantasy Doctor, and in this video I'm going to give you guys the best NBA main slate lineups for Draftkings and Fanduels today. So to start it off, let me give you guys the most valuable picks you can make on Draftkings today. Now, in terms of value, there's so many players you can pick today. So many players in the similar value range. But so today I'm going to give you guys more than the usual. I'm going to give you guys about 6 value picks. I'm going to give you the top 3, go a bit more in depth on them. And then I'm going to give you guys 3 more after them, and I won't go as in depth with them, but I'll give maybe a small explanation as to why they're so valuable. So let's get started. First place, we got Sterling Brown. He's projected to get 23 fantasy points at a 3,500 salary, very cheap. That's 6.7 fantasy points per 1,000 salary, the most value projected on DraftKings tonight. Next up, we got Chris Boucher. He's projected to get 36 fantasy points at 5,400 salary. That's 6.6 fantasy points per 1,000 salary, the second most valuable pick projected tonight. Third, we got Kenrich Williams, 30 fantasy points, 4,500 salary. That's also 6.6 fantasy points per 1,000 salary, tied for that second place of most projected fantasy points per 1,000 salary. So now getting into these guys a bit more in depth. Sterling Brown, Rockets have a lot of injuries tonight. Dante Exum, Eric Gordon, John Wall, and Christian Wood. Now that's going to open up some more minutes for Sterling Brown. He's a guard. And right now David Nwaba is projected to start, but it's somewhat likely that even Sterling Brown can start as well, in which case his value will rise more than it is right now. In previous games, he's gotten 33 fantasy points on February 3rd. That was a very good game. Only played 22 minutes that game. Tonight, he's probably going to get around 25 minutes or so. So this 23 points is a very safe bet. Maybe he pushes a little bit higher than that as well. That's a decently likely scenario in my opinion, and definitely somebody that will be a great addition to your lineups. Next up, we got Chris Boucher. Now Chris Boucher, he was going off early and mid-January, and then he kind of really went cold earlier. Like even early February, late January, he had a bunch of games. He was getting 20 points at the high end, which was very low compared to his earlier days where he was getting upwards of 40 to 50 points almost per day. And now his last 2 games, he has gone up in production once again. Last game he got 48 fantasy points, and the game before that he got 34. So today he's projected to get 35. I think that's somewhat conservative. I would not be surprised whatsoever if he pushes the high 40 fantasy point mark today. And definitely somebody you guys do want to be picking up for your lineups, and I feel you'll be disappointed if you don't pick him tonight. Next up, you got Kenrich Williams. Now Kenrich Williams has started the last 2 games. Both games he played somewhat decently. He had upwards of 20 points both those games, and then in his game previously before those, he did not start, but he had a near 30 fantasy point game. Now he's projected to get 30 points once again. Honestly, that might be a little bit higher on the expectations, I'd say, for him. Maybe a bit lower points should be expected, but I would not be surprised whatsoever if he does end up getting around that 30-point mark. But again, he's probably the worst out of the top 3 of the most valuable picks, I would say. Now today, again, as I said previously, we got so many players that are like right up there, almost equal to each other in that value category. So I'm going to give you guys the next 3, so 4, 5, and 6. Maybe go a little bit into depth with them. So first up, we got at the 4th place, we got Marc Gasol. He's projected to get 22 fantasy points out of 3,300 salary. That's also 6.6 fantasy points per 1,000. Now Anthony Davis is out, so he's a center. So he will be getting probably more rebounds today, as well as maybe a little bit uptake in minutes. But Marc Gasol's old. This might be a little bit of an over projection, but still he could see that kind of value today as well. Then we got Juan Toscano Anderson on the Warriors. He's been having pretty decent games last couple of games, and again, yeah, great pickup, still fairly cheap. And then we got Taurean Prince on the Cavaliers. Larry Nance has just gone out, so he'll have an uptake in minutes, and pretty decent chance he performs well today. So now let's get into the best main slate NBA lineup on DraftKings today. So we got Luka Doncic, Bradley Beal, Kenrich Williams, Juan Toscano Anderson, DeMarcus Cousins, Patty Mills, Taurean Prince, and Chris Boucher. That was the best, most optimal lineup on DraftKings based on projections. And now let's get into the best single game DraftKings lineup for the Lakers versus OKC game. So we got LeBron James at the captain, then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Al Horford, Hamidou Diallo, Montrezl Harrell, and Marc Gasol. Now let's talk about the most valuable picks you can make on FanDuel. Now FanDuel is a little bit different than DraftKings tonight. There's a clear number one for the value pick on DraftKings. However, numbers 2 through 7 or 8, they're all very close in that value department. But let's get into it. Number 1, we got DeMarcus Cousins. Without a doubt, he's very cheap on FanDuel. Only 6,000 salary, projected to get 44 fantasy points. That's 7.3 fantasy points per 1,000 salary. Now, I'd say there's very likely he gets a number close to that, and he's a high performer too. Like some of the value picks, like they're not projected to get high points. He's a high value pick that's projected to get high points. Sorry, definitely somebody you want to pick up. He's had tremendous games while he's been starting this season, and no reason why he doesn't have a similar game once again. Then we got Kenrich Williams for the second most valuable pick. Same reason that's for DraftKings. Maybe I'd stir off of him a little bit, but nonetheless a great pickup. And then we got Patty Mills. Patty Mills projected to get 25 fantasy points at 3,800 salary. That's 6.6 fantasy points per 1,000 salary. Now Patty Mills is the guy. He's a little up and down. He has some 30-point games every now and then he has 20-point games. He is somewhat consistent though, staying in that 20 to 30-point mark, in that 10 fantasy point range. But of course, he's very unlikely to get much greater than that 25 fantasy points projected, but he's very likely to hit that 25 fantasy point projection, and that will still give you a great value if you pick him up. And now the next 3 most valuable picks tonight on FanDuel are Michael Porter, projected to get 34 fantasy points, 5,200 salary. And then Patrick Williams, projected to get 29 fantasy points at 4,500 salary. And then Marc Gasol, again, projected to get 22 fantasy points at 3,500 salary. So those are the most valuable picks you can make. Now let's get into the best lineup you can have based off of all the projections. So we got Steph Curry, Ja Morant, Zach LaVine, Victor Oladipo, Michael Porter, Kenrich Williams, Chris Boucher, Patrick Williams, and DeMarcus Cousins. So that was the best main slate optimal lineup on FanDuel. Now let's talk about the best single game Warriors versus Spurs lineup on FanDuel. At the MVP, we got Steph Curry. At the star, we got DeMar DeRozan. At the pro, we got Kelly Oubre. And we got Andrew Wiggins and Juan Toscano Anderson. So there you guys go. Those are the best picks for the NBA on DraftKings and FanDuel tonight. If you enjoyed the video, if you found these lineups helpful, please don't forget to subscribe, like the video. Let me know in the comments how your lineups did, and I will see you guys next time.